So good morning and welcome to our candidate forums. My name is Lee Henry and I am the NEISD Council of PTAs President. This forum is being recorded and will be shown at a later date on our social media. PTA's mission is to make every child's potential a reality by engaging and empowering families and communities to advocate for all children. It's in line with the expectations of our school board. Our school board is tasked with ensuring that our children receive the finest, comprehensive education in a safe and secure learning environment. We applaud you for stepping in to help with our mission. The expectation of our audience is to listen respectfully to our moderator and candidates, no clapping, no outbursts or gestures. We encourage you to take pictures of this event and post on social media with the hashtag PTA votes. I'm going to introduce our moderator for today, which is Robbie Shepard. Robbie is our advocacy chair for the Northeast Council, PTAs. She's also a member of the Texas PTA Advocacy Committee. She is passionate about public education and is committed to supporting our schools for every student. As an NEISD parent, Robbie has seen her own child flourish thanks to the district's leadership and resources. We're happy to have her today to moderate the forum for single-member District 3. And so now I'll turn it over to Robbie.
I want to thank everybody for being here today. I just want everyone to know that elections matter, and being informed and being an informed voter is paramount for us all. So you're all aware, all candidates who officially filed for Northeast Diocese School Board of Trustees single-member District 3 were invited to participate, and those who indicated they would participate were provided a list of questions 1 week ahead of time. Mike Wulczyn is who we have with us today. Diane Villarreal was planning to attend our forum this morning, but is ill today and is unable to join us. You will have 2 minutes for an opening statement to answer each question and 2 minutes for your concluding statement. Sarah Patterson is sitting next to me here. She's going to keep us on track. She's going to give you a 1 minute warning, a 30-second warning, and a 15-second warning. So, if you don't have any questions, are we ready to get started?
I think we are.
Okay, well, the floor is yours, Mr. Wulczyn.
Well, thank you. First, I want to extend my sincerest thanks to the PTA for inviting me to this forum tonight. I'm really excited to be here, believe it or not. It's early in the morning. I'm still getting my ration of coffee, but I'm truly excited to be here, and I appreciate the opportunity to share my views and answer your questions. Thank you.
First question we have this morning. You've expressed your desire to serve as a trustee for Northeast ISD. How will you ensure your decisions reflect the voices and needs of families, students, and staff across all of NEISD, not just your own single-member district, while also prioritizing those in underserved communities that may not always feel heard?
Well, I think it's important for the trustees to be in touch with their constituents, and rather than make them come to the office, to the central office, I'm envisioning a type of rotating schedule where I make myself available during lunch hours, or have kind of a roaming office circuit amongst the different schools, making myself available not only to parents but to teachers, and that'll give me the opportunity to get together one-on-one to discuss concerns and other things that might be going on in the district.
Given the district's ongoing budget shortfall tied to inadequate state funding, do you support school consolidations? And what criteria would you use to make those decisions?
Right. Well, I'm going to be completely honest. I'm not a fan of consolidating schools. But given the current realities of the day, it's something that we have to always keep in mind and entertain. To me, consolidation would be the most difficult question that I have to fix in my position. And pragmatically, I can't rule it out. But I think we have to apply kind of a set of standards before we hit the nuclear option. We should first really go about aggressively cutting non-instructional waste, targeting vendor contracts, take a look at consultants, making sure they're getting our value on the dollar, and we want to eliminate any type of duplicative administrative structures. Second, I think we need to put a freeze on non-essential hiring. We need to find operational efficiencies in energy and transportation. I think we need to also make a multi-pronged attack. We need to pressure state leadership to increase the basic allotment and adjust for inflation, as consolidation is really a symptom of the state's failure to fund public schools.
Speaking of public education in its current system, some say that public education is under attack on a lot of places. How should trustees support public education and fair compensation for school staff? And how would you engage with legislators in Austin to help move that forward?
I think really, as a school district, we need to borrow on social justice activities that occurred in the past. I think that not understanding about it before, I think the Northeast Independent School District should partner, develop a coalition with other neighboring school districts. That will regain the numbers that Austin has to pay attention to. As is, one school district clamoring about unfairness of allotment, et cetera, is easy to be shoved underneath the rug. We joined together in Red County with the multiple districts being one. Now we have the numbers where it's harder for them to ignore us. It's harder for them to put us off. And we need to really put as much effort into lobbying and making residents of the district aware of the shortcomings that the state has dealt us as far as funding goes.
There are more options available to families through TEFAs, which is Texas Education Freedom Accounts, and the growing number of charter schools that are popping up here in our district. What strategies would you support to retain students in our district and strengthen NEISD's ability to recruit new students?
I agree with that. I think to be more competitive, we have to pivot from a defensive posture that we're in now to be more aggressive, taking the value proposition type of model. The NEISD's greatest advantage over charters and private accounts is our ability to provide a comprehensive all-in-one experience. Everything from fine arts to science and technology, competitive athletics, just a robust array of educational services. And that's something that we should be in a superior position to over charter schools. I think we need to leverage that position and consider removing geographical barriers. Borrow from the north side of the best school district, and we make open enrollment throughout the entire city. That way we can attract individuals into flagship programs that they're tried and true. It puts us on a competitive equal footing with charter schools, I think. And I think we also need to modernize student recruitment. We need to implement a single-click enrollment system, also following the model of charter schools. And I would like to see, to be honest with you, a campaign, a proof of performance type of campaign where we tout the successes of our students and our school system and demonstrate how they are superior, or at least on equal footing with neighbor schools as a competitor.
As we think about the whole child, we know that students are navigating a wide range of academic, social, and mental health needs. Those needs are shaped by both the lasting effects of the pandemic and the broader challenges they face every day at school and at home. How should NEISD continue to support students' academic, social, and mental health needs, especially as many continue to face challenges following this pandemic?
I think the district is doing an excellent job as far as providing emotional support and counseling to our students. But I do think we can kind of streamline that. I think the district should shift from providing available resources to providing integrated ones. So what does that mean? Most of our kids on campuses have to find their way through a maze to find the right service that they need. There should be one-stop front door that can ascertain the specific needs of that student and then refer them or walk them down to the door of the person or the agency that they need to talk to. That makes it a much more easier process and increases the availability to our students. Instead of waiting for a crisis to happen, we might consider creating a unified care team, something composed of teachers, STEM counselors, family specialists, meet regularly and proactively discuss potential issues in the students' lives. We don't want to react to a crisis as it happens. We want to try to avert the crisis before it becomes an issue.
With DEA releasing its most recent report yesterday, how do you feel about the district's current cell phone policy?
I'll be honest with you, if you had asked me that question last week, I would have given you a completely different answer. That report changes things dramatically. My son graduated from Pasadena, he graduated from the STEM Academy. The parent side of me, coupled with the law enforcement part of my life, screams, I want my kid to have that cell phone in an emergency. It's just too much of an invaluable resource. That being said, I also understand that we're at odds with the state. And that report really accelerates the issue. At this point, we're facing conservatorship. And that is wrong because it disenfranchises the residents, the voters of the district. It's wrong because it's going to increase our expenditures that we haven't budgeted for, probably triple. So I would have to say at this point we need to negotiate with the DEA and acquiesce and come into compliance. Once we've averted the takeover, then we've got the time to sit back and negotiate a compromise or something that's more equitable to everybody involved. In other words, we need to go into compliance to look at the conservatorship, and then we can after things have calmed and settled down, we can discuss other ways of having that done. I support technology, something like a geofencing type of app, whereas students come on campus and kill their social media apps, they're not able to start them. But it still allows SMS, texting, voice the event of emergencies, or if a student needs to have contact with their parent.
At the heart of every school community here at NEISD is the shared hope that every child and educator feels safe, supported, and cared for each day when they walk in the doors of our schools on campus. What are your top priorities when it comes to school safety and security?
Well, I think a school should be a sanctuary and not a fortress. But given the times that we're living in today, security consciousness is really paramount. I think we need to integrate physical hardware with aggressive mental health support. I think we need to create an environment where the walls are invisible, but the safety net is there and it's unbreakable. I think we should consider things such as true security being built on a sense of connection. If the student feels safe and supported, the risk of self-harm or violence decreases significantly. I think we should utilize teams consisting of administrators, counselors, and law enforcement to evaluate red flag behaviors. Technology is a wonderful thing if used properly. There are systems that are available now that even uses AI to be able to detect individuals who might be carrying weapons. It's very non-intrusive, very not noticeable. I think we should look at utilizing tools like that as part of our security repertoire.
NEISD's dual language program is designed to develop bilingual, biliterate, and bicultural students by providing instruction in both English and Spanish. preparing them for success in an increasingly connected and diverse world. What's your perspective on NEISD's dual language program, and do you see it as a strong investment for our district?
Yes, I do see dual language as a strong investment. Historically and statistically, a dual language program also provides a secondary engine as far as problem solving and cognitive ability. And I've been very fortunate in that I've been able to travel the world while in the service, and I have seen other cultures in almost every nation, every continent I've been on. Multiple languages are promulgated in the school system. There's no reason for that to happen here. I myself grew up actually in a German-speaking household, so that was my second language. And then eventually, having moved down here to Texas, Spanish kind of snuck its way into my ability. I think having a dual language program really should just be an elective. I think it should be mandatory. The ability for our students to statistically, how can I put this? Statistically, studies have shown dual language students meet or exceed grade level expectations. And with the testing system moving towards that type of assessment, I think it's a perfect dovetail into the testing that's coming down the pipe.
As more students with IEPs and 504 plans are learning in general education classrooms, it's important to ensure that both students and teachers are set up for success in inclusive environments. What specific strategies or supports would you implement to support both educators and students in these settings?
Well, students with significant needs are typically served in specialized units, but a lot of people, I don't think, are aware that the majority of those IEPs and 504 plans learn in general education classrooms. So ideally, I'd like to see something where the district is able to provide real-time, sustainable support to those educators and those students. Look at something along the lines of collaborative teaching, perhaps, where we have specialists kind of drop in and push in during core blocks of general instruction and augment the classroom teachers' ability to reach students.
How would you ensure financial transparency and accountability, including oversight of vendor contracts, while prioritizing spending across the district?
You know, I'm kind of shocked that the school district doesn't have something that the state of Texas has already resorted to. I know TxDOT was one of the pioneers in the program. I think that there should be some kind of online portal where parents can go through and take a look at the district's checkbook, see who's being given money, whose services we're purchasing. And then, in addition to that, I think that there should be some type of metric that parents can take a look at, where we're looking at the effectiveness of the money that we're spending. If we're spending money on a contractor, has the contractor delivered on time? Is it always running late? Is this an expenditure that we need to continue, or we need to look at other possible vendors? I think being able to have, in this digital age, being able to have all that at your fingertips on the computer is open transparency, and it allows for parents and other voters, other residents to basically self-audit or audit the district's expenditures and its effectiveness.
What is your stance on balancing standardized assessments like STAR with meaningful learning experiences?
And I say that's a trick question because STAR is deprecated in a year. So we're only getting one more year where we have it, and then we shift the SST, student success tool. And I think it's something that looks good on paper, but we're really going to have to see how that pans out in practice. I love the idea that we're moving away from all this pressure being put on. It's a once-a-year exam with so much rides on it, and we're going to a multi-tiered, a three-exam over a period of an academic year. The plus is that it should provide, again, in theory, it would provide real-time feedback to instructors. So instead of it being an autopsy report, which I've heard it called, this is what's happened in the last year. It's done. It's over. We can't go back and change it. Having like checkpoints throughout the year should be able to give administration and teachers the ability to adjust accordingly, so that by the time the next indicator comes up, the student is much more on track if they're below. And I think also there's a cultural change that goes with that. I think and that would be a good thing. We take this, everything rides on the one test type of idea, and we'd be able, hopefully, to change it into something more relatable to students. We're like, okay, this is our chance to level up, right? Like in a game, online game. We can level up and increase our ability to move forward in the system and to accomplish things.
Serving as a board trustee means working with others who have different perspectives, all while staying focused on what's best for the students in our district. How will you handle disagreements with fellow trustees and grow with district leadership?
Well, first off, disagreement is actually a sign of a healthy democracy. Everybody is different. Everybody has their own important issues. So I would like to think that the debate or disagreements are going to be just part of normal everyday business. Now, that being said, how one handles disagreements is really where one sets themselves apart. I think that we need to adopt when I was a teacher, we used to adopt a set of rules of how students would conduct themselves. And I think that the board should do something like that, where we look at everything from how does this serve the students living? If we're going to debate something or we're going to have a disagreement over something, policy change, maybe we should consider having student-teacher impact statements at the meetings. How would this particular policy change, hearing from the people it involves and the effect, how, their opinions as to how this would affect them, what their thoughts are. We need to realize that as trustees we're students, and we need to take into account the ramifications of every decision and every action we make.
As our students and educators are already experiencing, AI and new technologies are quickly becoming part of the everyday classroom experience, shaping how students learn and how teachers teach. What's the right approach for NEISD when it comes to using AI and new technologies that emerge in classrooms?
Wow, this is where I probably will push the limit. AI is a great tool. And I'm going to stress that it's a tool. It's not a substitute for critical thought. I'm going to date myself. I remember when calculators first came out, and schools went ballistic. Oh my God, this is cheating. We can't have calculators in the classroom. And then after Ken Ward said, well, we can't have programmable calculators in the classroom. And the AI is really no different. Actually, AI is becoming more and more integrated in our daily lives. I'm seeing computers now, they have neural processing units as part of their central processing chips. It's not going anywhere, it's here to stay. So I think that we need to take that attitude and work with it. We need to teach our students not to rely on it as a crutch, but how to utilize it as a tool. We should make AI permissible, but we should, if you use it, you should be notating in the paper, just like a reference to any other book or source. And also, the students should include the entire chat, the input, the output, and how that's to be directed with the further mechanisms of AI. There's a lot of myths associated with it. You just don't type in, give me a 5,000-word essay on this and that. You'll be very, very much disappointed when it comes out. It's going to take a lot of interaction between the student and AI. And that student has to have an idea of how that paper needs to be structured, where the points need to be directed, et cetera, et cetera. And most Ivy League schools are accepting AI with that proviso. The chat is included, the direction the student gives AI is part of the evaluation process. Does the student show cognitive thought and telling AI what it needs to do in order to get the product that the student and the university, the school now is satisfied with?
Final question, David. We clearly believe that volunteerism is is very important here at PTA. Can you share specific examples of how you've supported students and educators in public education, but particularly here in the NEISD?
You know, that was a hard question for me. My son graduated like 16 years ago from NEISD Academy. And I have to say, in thinking about that question, I probably fall in the same category as a lot of parents. Once our child graduates, we kind of lose that tie, that interest in school community. What I can say is while my son Matthew attended Castle Hills Elementary, a turning point there was that the Cub Scouts came into the school and we did a recruiting drive. And my son was very interested, he talked to me about it, and I got involved with him. So while he was at Castle Hills, I became part of the Cub unit, ended up being a den leader, and eventually being a Cub master. And that was really rewarding in being able to get to know the other kids. My son was in class with, getting to know their thoughts about school and certain teachers and how they felt about the activities. It was a really, really rewarding experience along that end. I would like, I guess in a way you could say my running for District 3 trustee is a way of rekindling that attachment to the district. And just as I became very, very involved in scouting as a result of Castle Hills, I would inevitably be extremely involved in the day-to-day stewardship of the district as well.
Well, I think that we're going to conclude the question part of today's forum. Let's go to your closing statement. Again, you have 2 minutes.
Well, I think what's important for voters, especially in the PTA report, we need to very seriously sit down and think about what we want for our kids, what we want for our school system, what we want for us as voters. Do we want our voice to be heard? So if we want that, I think we have to reevaluate the system as it stands. Do we want the same old thing as we had before, reactionary type of governance, or do we want someone who can come in kind of as a specialist, a subject matter specialist, someone who can provide strategic decision making and governance over the school district? I think the paradigm needs to change, just like everything else in the world. Just as Amazon revolutionized the paradigm of the brick and mortar stores, I think that this district, or any school district, needs to start thinking more in terms of future models, because the system we have now, it has to change, especially when we're butting heads with the Texas Education Agency. We need to be innovative, and in a certain respect, I kind of like that because it kind of keeps being on their edge. They're an organization that strikes me as not liking change very much. So I think the best advantage is to keep them at a certain level of anxiety as we try to figure out a new way districts can achieve educating their students.
Well, thank you, Mr. Wulczyn, for coming and let us know more about you and your direction that you see in the NEISD moving forward in the future. We sincerely appreciate your willingness to engage with all of us this morning. I will now turn it back over to the Northeast ISD Council PTA's President, Diane.
Okay, I want to thank Mike for being here and thank everyone in the audience for attending. Mike will hopefully stay around a few minutes afterwards if you maybe have some questions for him. Early voting begins on Monday, April 20th and ends on Tuesday, April 28th. And there will be no voting on Friday, April 24th. That's Battle of the Flowers. Election day is Saturday, May 2nd. PTA is a membership organization that advocates. We have PTAs on all 64 campuses. To join the PTA for an NISD campus, go to joinpta.org. And we hope that you guys have enjoyed this forum. Thank you for your support and advocacy on behalf of 57,000 students in NISD, because the future of Texas is in our public schools. Thank you.